What a beautiful day it is today. It might be raining outside, but it's warm inside. I'm excited to be here. I just want to welcome everybody again to Victory Church on the Rock. If you're watching online, special welcome to you guys as well. I'm excited. You guys don't know me. My name's Dustin, and I'm the lead pastor here at Victory Church on the Rock. And again, we're just excited to be able to come celebrate on what God is doing. And man, let's just also get up for our amazing worship team, man. We're so blessed with the incredible worship. You know, over the past 3 to 4 years, I traveled across Western Canada. I was speaking all over the place. And I'm telling you, we have a great worship here at Victory Church on the Rock. So yeah, let's just give it up for our team one more time, man. They serve tirelessly every week. They're incredible team. Again, we're so blessed. You know, and I'm excited again today to be here today. We're going to be having this conversation on serving. You know, serving is one of the things that I believe is so super unique about even just the local church, about us as Christians, is that, you know, our heart is to serve. You know, our heart is to give to what God is doing. You know, we just, talk a little bit about giving financially, but I think part of it is also giving of our time. You know, being able to just give of what God has blessed us with, because serving is our honor, right? It's an honor for us to get to serve. You know, it's not an obligation. I think one thing I love about, our church and churches I've seen and been a part of is that serving is an honor. You know, it's not an obligation. We get to do it. We get to serve each other. We get to serve the guests that come. We get to serve Jesus. And I just love that I get to be part of a church that does that. And in September of 2001, I think there's this moment in history that all of us remember. I think all of us remember where we were September 11th, 2001. I remember I was at my house and I was getting ready for school. And all of a sudden, there was panic in my house. And I go downstairs, and on the TV, there's this building that's on fire. You know, I was a kid, and I didn't know exactly what was happening. All of a sudden, there's this building that's on fire. It's this moment, this event that changed the course of history. You know, September 11th, 2001. And the attacks that took place that in the United States, in New York, and across the United States, that left thousands dead and thousands injured. These planes started hitting buildings. And it was a horrific event that left all of us, I think, confused. Some of us scared. This was a moment, and the crazy thing about that is that is almost 20 years ago. That moment in history. The interesting thing that I think about too is kids who are in school right now. That's a historical event. It's not an event that they even will remember because they weren't even born yet. And it's an event, again, I think that changed all of our lives. And after, these planes hit the building, what happened is they actually closed the airspace, right? Because they didn't know what was happening. And what this caused is it caused hundreds, if not thousands of planes to divert and land elsewhere, not go to their destination. One of these destinations was a place in Canada called Gander, Newfoundland. Yeah. Gander, Newfoundland. And so Gander was a refueling port during the First and Second World Wars. It's a small town, about 10,000 people. And I can imagine with me, you're eating breakfast and you see on the news that horrific event. And then all of a sudden you look up and you see plane after plane after plane after plane landing in your town. After you see the horrific events, now you're seeing these maybe same planes landing in your city. And this is what this town woke up to. 42 planes ended up landing in Gander on that day with almost 7,000 people. And this is a town of 10,000. Their town almost doubled in one morning. And imagine the confusion. Again, you look at plane after plane after plane. There was a lot of fear because they didn't know. Maybe there were people who were planning other terrorist attacks or whatever on these planes. That no one knew what was going on. And remember, this is the time before cell phones. You know, not a lot of people had cell phones at this time. So these families, their families at home don't know where their family is. They don't even know if their family is safe. As they're landing in the city, they can't call them. They can't text their family. They can't say, hey, I'm okay. And they're here and they land in Gander. And I don't know if you know this story super well, but what happened is all these people landed in Gander and the city came together. The city came together. They gathered all the resources they could. They got all the food they could. They started opening up the schools to house all these people. They started opening up their homes for people to shower, for people to eat a meal. Thousands and thousands of people. And again, these are people that they had never met before. These are people who had different religions than them. that looked different than them, that acted different than them, and they just started opening up their homes for all these people, 7,000 people. The town quickly, they got together and they said, what can we do for all these people? We need to feed them. We need to give them a place to sleep. We need to give them clothes. Because another interesting thing is that they weren't allowed to open the airplanes to get their baggage. So they literally, all they had, these people who got off the plane, was whatever they got on the plane with. They weren't even allowed to get their clothing from their bags. And they were stuck for multiple days. They started to entertain them. Again, they started to feed them, to house them, and started to carry the burden together of grief. Again, for a lot of these days, they had some phones that they were waiting in line to call their family and say, hey, I'm okay. You know, they carried this burden of grief together. They served each other. They started to serve each other. There's story after story. If you research this, it's an incredible story. There's actually a play about this called Come From Away that me and my mom went to in Toronto. And my mom, I'll just tell this story too. We flew to Toronto on a red-eye flight. So we barely slept on the plane. We get to Toronto, and we walk around Toronto all day with our suitcases. We went up to CN Tower, and then I think it was that night, we ended up going to this play. And so we haven't slept. My mom is super emotional, and we're watching this play. I think my mom's even watching this right now. We're watching this play, and right beside us, I'm not kidding, there's a row of people from Newfoundland watching this with us in Toronto, and they're waving their Newfoundland flags. And my mom is just crying, right? Before this play even starts, and we watch this play, you know, it was incredible. But this is a story of people coming together, allowing strangers into their homes, of a community coming together to serve people that they didn't know. And it's just a beautiful representation of what I believe, you know, God's heart for us as a church is to serve one another. To serve each other even if we don't know each other's story. To serve each other even if we don't even feel maybe like we're gifted. To serve one another with all that we have. You know, that I believe when we go back to the original local church, it said that they served each other and there was not a need in the community because they came together as a family and said, we're going to meet all the needs. And I love that. And there's this moment in the scriptures that shares one of the most beautiful examples of servanthood in human history, at least in human history that I know. And we can read it together in John 13, verse 2-5. This is what it says. It says, during supper, when the devil had already put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. And by him, they're talking about Jesus. And Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands and that he had come from God and was going back to God, rose from supper and he laid aside his outer garments. And taking a towel, tied it around his waist, and then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was wrapped around him. You know, what I love is that we serve a God who not only created us, but serves us. We serve a God who created our inmost being, who knit us together in our mother's womb, but doesn't just create us, also wants to serve us. You know, and when you look around at other, you know, religions or belief systems or faith systems, we're a religion where God serves you. We're a relationship where God actually wants something to do with you. Who's willing to tie a towel around his waist and wash your feet? You know, we serve an incredible God. You know, this is a God, like I think all of us, maybe not all of us, a lot of us though, when we look at how we want to live our life, God is like, Jesus is the example that we strive for. You know, when I read the scriptures, I think, man, like what an incredible person Jesus was and is. What an incredible person Jesus is, that he serves us. He served his disciples. Now at the time, you know, washing feet, you know, even now is gross, right? Like imagine like your husband comes home from a long day at work. He's got his work boots on. He's been sweating all day. And he takes his shoes and socks off and his socks stay standing up, right? You know what I'm talking about? And he says, hey, wash my feet. You'd be like, no. At least if Beth came home with stinky feet, I'm not about to wash her feet, right? Like, that's disgusting. My feet are probably worse. Anyway. But at the time, you know, this was the grossest job. This was the lowliest servant's job, that they would go and they would wash the feet, especially when they were about to go eat a meal. When they would have a communal meal together, they would need their feet washed because they would recline at low tables. And so it was very important to have clean feet. Because I don't want to be smelling delicious food as well as somebody's stinky feet, right? Like those two things I don't want at the same time, right? Two smells that shouldn't coexist. You know, and then Jesus, he sees this issue, this job, and he steps out and does it. You know, he steps out and does the job that, to be honest, I don't think anybody wanted to do. And Jesus steps out and does this. Jesus took the task of the lowliest servant, even though he had the greatest title a human could have, which is God. He took the lowliest task, even though his title would have said something different. Even though his title would have said something different, his title was God. That he took the task of a servant. And I have 3 thoughts today, and we're going to kind of continue in the story when it comes to serving. And the first thought is this, is that we serve everyone. And one fascinating thing about this, if you read through this in John chapter 13, is there's this guy named Judas. And if you don't know who Judas is, Judas is the guy who betrayed Jesus and led him to his death. This is a guy that led Jesus into death. You know, betrayed him, gave him away to people. And Jesus sees Judas, this guy who's about to betray him. And he says, I'm going to wash your feet. I'm gonna step out, and I know what you're about to do, but I'm going to wash your feet. I'm going to serve you. Even though you're about to do something, even though you're going to hurt me, even though there's pain, I'm going to serve you. And when I read that, when I see God serving somebody who doesn't deserve it, somebody who is going to betray him, you know, where my mind goes is I feel that that's me. You know, when I look at my life, when I look at all the things and I look at all the decisions and I look at my past, and then I see Jesus washing Judas's feet, I think, Jesus, that's the same as you washing my feet. You know, we serve this God who serves every single person on the planet. You know, when we read the story, right? Like, I was reading it this week and I kept thinking, like, how many times we put ourselves in Jesus' shoes, right? You know, we're the people to serve. How many times we put us in the other disciples' shoes? How many times do I look at that story and realize that sometimes I'm Judas? Where Jesus says, hey, it doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter what you're going to do. It doesn't matter what you're doing now. I am going to serve you anyway. Jesus served Judas. And I think when we look at that, right? When we look at Jesus serving this guy, I think my heart, for me and for us, my heart is that we can do that as well. That we can become the people who serve people that nobody else is serving. That we can be the community that in our city where they say, hey, I need help, where do they go? They come to us. Because they know we don't care your past, we don't care your history, we care about who you and we care about your future. And we're going to serve you, we're going to lead you, we're going to take care of you, we're going to meet your needs. That's our prayer. That we can be that. We can be that to our city. We can be that to each other. We can be that to our community. That we can do that. And I'm telling you, our city has a lot of need right now. You know, yesterday, Beth and I, we went to the funicular. One time, Beth and I went to a funicular in Quebec City. It was built in 1879. This one was built in 2017. But we went down there. You know, and when we were down there, you know, we were there to explore the city, get to know our city. And you know what I saw? I saw so much need in our city. You know, I haven't lived here for long. You know, I don't know what it was like fully before COVID, but what I do know right now is our city needs churches to stand up and start serving the city. That's what our city needs. That's what our communities need. there's so much struggle. There's so many people who maybe have even walked away from Jesus. There's so many people who are struggling with addiction. So many people who are struggling with homelessness. So many people who are struggling with mental health. My heart and our prayer, and I believe this is where God is leading us as a church, is to go serve our city. You know, to serve our city. You know, our role as believers is to serve people. To step out, and even if it's uncomfortable, right? I'm telling you, serving people is not always comfortable. It's not always comfortable because we serve everyone. Anyone that God entrusts to us, our role is to serve them and not leave them. How many times have me, and I look at my life as the example, how many times have I just walked past need? When I have the resource, I have the answer, I have money to buy somebody food, and I just walk past the need all the time. I don't know if you know the story of the Good Samaritan. I think a lot of the time, at least in my life, I'm the person who sees the need and just walks right past. And I know, like, for me, like, that's not the person I want to be, right? I don't think we wake up in the morning and think, you know what I want to do today? I just want to walk past all the need. I don't really feel like helping people today. I don't feel like serving. But when we see the need, it's not comfortable. You know, I don't know what was going through Jesus' mind when he stepped down and he tied the towel around his waist and started washing his disciples' feet. I don't know what was going through his mind. But for me, that would not be the most comfortable thing for me to do. Yeah, Jesus stepped out and did this. I believe that too many times we aren't faithful sometimes with what we already have. We're not faithful with the things God has blessed us with. We're not faithful. I think, at least for me, like, I'm asking for more. I'm like, God, more and more. He's like, what about what you already have? What about the need in your family? What about the need in your community? What about the need in your church? What about that need? Start meeting the needs right now, and then I'm going to provide more needs as I start to see you be faithful with what's already happening. Jesus got down and served in the grossest way because of love. And, you know, Matthew 25, verse 35 to 40 says this, "For I was hungry, and you gave me food, and I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you as a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, as you did it to the least of these my brothers, you did it to me." You know, we serve everyone we serve everyone because how we serve everyone is how we serve Jesus. You know, as we step out, even in our church, you know, we have a lot of people that's currently serving in our church. And as we serve, we're serving Jesus. You know, how we post on Facebook is how we're serving people. How we respond to people who think differently than us is how we're serving Jesus. How we treat our kids is how we're serving Jesus. How we treat our parents is how we're serving Jesus. Everything that we do in the act of service, he says here, "Truly, truly, I say to you, what you did to the least of these, my brothers, you did to me." And when I hear that, I think, how many times have I literally walked past Jesus on the street? How many times have I not stepped up and served in an opportunity, whether it's at church or in the community, because it wasn't comfortable? You know, and Jesus says here, the king will answer them, "Truly I say to you, as you did to the least of these my brothers, you did to me." You know, and I think, man, but also I think, how many times have we got it, right? How many times as a church in our almost 30-year history, Victory Church on the Rock, how many times have we done an incredible job serving? You know, I'm hearing stories. And I'm hearing stories of what we as a church have done in the community of Thorncliffe. You know, I'm hearing stories of what we've done in the community surrounding us, what we've done for people in our church. And I'm excited about the future. I'm not trying to preach this message to just make us feel like, oh, we're terrible. God's done amazing things in our church. And today, my heart is just to encourage us to say there's still more. We've done a lot, and that's awesome. But I believe God says, let's do more. Let's serve more. Right now, Edmonton needs serving more than ever. And we get to be a part of that. We get to be a part of that mission to bring Jesus into our city. We serve one another. Let's continue in this story, John 13, verse 6. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, do you wash my feet? So, just sidetrack. Peter, if you read through the Gospels, is my absolute favorite guy. And the reason I say that is because that guy just says whatever he wants to say. I'm telling you, he is the most excited, non-thinking person in the Bible, right? He gets excited, right? He says, Lord, do you wash my feet? And Jesus answered him, what I am doing you do not understand, but afterward you will understand. Peter said to him, you shall never wash my feet. Right? He's like, nope. No, absolutely not. You're not about to wash my feet, Jesus. If anything, I should wash your feet. And then it just this story gets crazier with Peter, right? He's incredible. You should never wash my feet. And then Jesus answered him, if I do not wash you, you have no share with me. Then Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not my feet only, but my hands, wash my head, give me a bath, wash all of me. Right? He's just he went from don't wash my feet to give me everything you have. Right? He's I want to share full life with you. And Jesus is just okay, Peter, relax. Calm down. Jesus said to him, the one who has bathed does not need to wash, right? You had a bath, bro. It's okay. Except for his feet, but is completely clean. And you are clean, but not every one of you. And if you kind of look into that, he's talking about Judas right in this moment. Judas is the one who's unclean, yet Jesus still steps down and serves him. It's incredible. But, the thought number 2 I have is an interesting thought, but it's this, is that we are served. I think a lot of us, we're incredible at, if there's a need, we step in right away. We say, hey, anytime, any place, anywhere, I'm ready to go. I will serve. I will give all that I have. I will serve with everything that I am. We're like Peter, right? We just are willing to do whatever it takes. And that's Peter. He's willing to do whatever it takes. We will serve anyone, anytime, any place. And we will drop anything and everything to serve people. Yeah, when people try and serve us, it makes us uncomfortable. Right? I think a lot of us in our church right now, I think a lot of us have deep needs at home. We have deep needs in our relationships, in our marriage with our kids, but we're not willing to let people serve us. We're not willing to let people step into maybe a painful moment or a painful situation, or step into our marriage, which is rocky. We don't even know if we're going to survive, and we're not asking for help. We're not letting people step in and speak life. We're not letting people serve us. We struggle with allowing people into our pain. We struggle allowing people into our house to clean it. You know what one of the biggest blessings to Beth and I is? When we moved from Calgary up here in January, there's this family in our church, and they had this cleaning business, and they said, hey, you know what we want to do? We want to just clean your house for you for free as you move to Edmonton. We're like, oh! Like that? I think Beth and I had like a joyful cry together, someone wants to clean my house? That's a big blessing, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not about to ask. I'm not about to even sometimes let people into it, because I feel, I don't know, when I have guests over, right? Every time I have a guest over, doesn't matter if my house is literally brand new, sparkling clean, or if it's an absolute disaster. What comes out of my mouth is, sorry about the mess. I don't know if you guys do that too. You finally clean your house and people come over. You're sorry about how messy my house is. They're like, you should see my house. Because this is what we do, right? We have people over. I'm like, oh, shoot, someone's coming over. This hasn't happened in a long time, but when people come over, we're like, oh, got to clean the house today. Right? We just clean the house for the guest, right? And then we still are like, oh, sorry, it's so bad. But I think sometimes we're kind of proud of ourselves though, because we're like, hey, I cleaned my house today. Yeah, and we just want the compliment. Anyway, we need to learn to let people serve us. You know, Jesus allowed his disciples to serve him, right? If we read through the scriptures, the disciples served Jesus all the time. And it's interesting that, like, for us, sometimes we struggle with being served. We struggle with somebody helping serve us. We need to learn that being served is being a part of a family. Allowing our church, allowing our friends, allowing our community to serve us is so important. Because I'm telling you, none of us is a superhero. None of us can serve with an empty cup. None of us can serve if we're not being filled back up. You know, and some of us, our love language, if you look at the 5 love languages, it's an incredible book, but one of the love languages is acts of service. So some of us, we thrive on people serving us, and some of us, we struggle with people serving us. Peter says, I don't want you to serve me. I don't want this blessing. You are too good. You are too amazing. I should be serving you. And I think this is another thing, another thought, just real quick, is that a lot of us, we're really good at serving Jesus, but we struggle when he tries to serve us. When he tries to bring healing. When he tries to bring restoration. Some of us, we really deeply struggle with that. And so Peter received this great blessing because he allowed Jesus to serve him. And we need to allow people to serve us. Let's continue on in the story, John 13, verse 12 to 17. When he had washed their feet and put on his outer garments and resumed his place, he said to them, do you understand what I have done for you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you also should do as I have done to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor a messenger greater than the one who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. My last thought today is this, is that we serve out of our title. We do not serve for a title. We don't serve out of our title. We serve out of our title. We don't serve for our title. Our intentions in serving are really important. Our titles give us more serving opportunities. That's all they do. If our intentions in serving are to get a title, we aren't doing it for the right reasons. If we're serving just to get popularity, just to get the title, just to move up in our business, just to move up in life, we're doing it for the wrong reason. Our intentions need to be to expand the kingdom, not expand our job description. To expand the kingdom. There's an incredible quote, and I love this quote. You've probably heard this. It says, if serving is beneath you, leading is beyond you. If you can't serve, you can't lead. If you can't serve, if serving is beneath you, leading is beyond you. If you want to be a leader, you must first be a server. Leadership is serving. And Jesus, right, he had the title of God. He had the title of teacher, of savior, of creator, but he took the task of a servant. You know, how many of us, we have the title, but we're not willing to do the task? We have the title of, even a lot of us, right, as believers, we have the title of believer, which is awesome. But there's also a task, and that's serving each other, to love one another, to step into deeper relationship with Jesus, to let him serve us, and then we serve others, and we just learn how to love each other better. We were created to serve one another. When we all make mistakes, you know, we hurt each other. We do. You know, we're imperfect people. We come to church because we need a Savior. We need Jesus. And sometimes our pain comes in and we hurt each other. But at our down to the core, we love and we serve. You know, Beth and I'm going to be honest, there might come a day, and maybe it's already happened, where we might hurt you. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not intentional. Like, Beth and I are not out here to hurt people, but I do know that as human beings, Beth and I, there might be a time where we end up hurting you. And I want you to know that down to our core, we love you. You know, as pastors, our role is to serve. Our role is to love. And my prayer is that even if we get to a point where there is hurt, where there is pain, that we can find reconciliation, and we can find life, and we can find love, and we can find serving. That's our prayer as pastors. All the title does is give you more opportunities to serve, not more opportunities to be served to. You know, the title gives us more opportunity because we serve everyone with what we have. 1 Peter 4:10-11 says this, as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. Whoever speaks is one who speaks oracles of God. Whoever serves is one who serves by the strength that God supplies, in order that in everything God may be glorified through Jesus Christ. To him belong the glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. We all have something to give. We all have a gift inside of us. We all have something to give to our church. We all have something to give to our community. We all have something to give to our city. You have something inside of you that our church is looking for. You have something inside of you that our church is looking for. Everything we do here as a church is to add value to people, to add value to other human beings, to bring people closer to Jesus, to add value to them. We serve to make people better, to disciple people, to raise them up as leaders, as servers. What gift do you have? What is inside of you? What is it? Maybe you've been attending, even our church for a long time, or maybe you've come from somewhere else and you've never actually once stepped foot at serving in a church or in our church. I want to encourage you to step out and serve. I think for a lot of us, it's scary though, right? Because serving is vulnerable. Serving sets us up sometimes for failure. Serving sometimes means that we might make mistakes. Those are stepping out in boldness. But I want to encourage you, let's step out together. If anywhere's a good spot to learn how to serve, it's the church. It's the church because we have grace, we have love, and we're not perfect. We know that. I want to encourage you to step out and serve. I just want to tell this quick story. I went on a mission trip to Vancouver one time. There's this guy, this was before we got there, he got really sick. I forget exactly what he had. He got super, super sick, and they gave him, I think, like 6 months to live. And, as he was thinking about, man, like I have 6 months to live. He had kids, and he has this job. And he said there was this moment, he had this revelation that the things that once he said, I have to do this, right? I have to go to work. I have to drive my kids to school. I have to sit in traffic. I have to take out the garbage. He said, now, when I look out, I say, I get to. Now, I get to drive my kids to school today. I get to serve in my church. I get to go to church. I get to spend time with my wife. I get to sit in traffic, right? And that's hard to get to that point. But the thought I want to kind of leave us with today is, let's not let serving become a have to. Let's always know that it's a get to. Jesus got to wash his disciples' feet. I believe that that's what his thought process was. I get to do this. I get to impart this into my people. I get to impart this into my best friends. We don't have to search our family here at Victory Church on the Rock. We get to. Crowds become communities when people stop just observing and start serving. Now, if we want to have, great community, and we want to see our city healed, it's so easy to observe the pain in our city, but how hard is it to serve the need in our city? Our prayer for me and all of us, again, is that we will step into serving. Serve our city, serve our church, serve each other. We have some amazing serving opportunities here at Victory Church on the Rock. And we want to encourage you to prayerfully consider joining our team, to be a part of serving. I think a lot of us, maybe even before COVID, we were serving, And then throughout COVID, right, of course, things changed drastically. And we want to create space again for all of us to step into serving today. We believe that God has some opportunities. We are hoping, now this is a hope, we're hoping to relaunch our kids ministry on May 16th. That's our hope. But in order to relaunch that, we also need people to join and be a part of that team. Our heart, this is just what Beth and I's heart is. Our heart is that when we step into serving, we're serving once every 3 weeks. So that way, you can still be a part of what God is doing in the room, but you serve once every 3 weeks. That's our vision. That's our dream. That's our hope. And we know that sometimes that's hard to get to, but the way we get there is when all of us come together and we bear that together. When we come together. And so we have space. I think we have space for 10. We need 10 children's ministry volunteers. You know, we're looking for people to become leaders of a room, as well as we're looking for people to step in as just a support for the leader in rooms. You know, we have so many opportunities here, but the two main ones right now that we have in our church is kids ministry, because we want to relaunch. We want to create a space for kids to go and learn about Jesus, as well as music. You know, we want to see if there's anyone in our church who's maybe musically inclined. You know, we want to create space for you to maybe do an audition and maybe be a part of our worship team. But there's so many serving opportunities in our church. You know, and I think us as the leaders of our teams, you know, we want to see people serving too. You know, we don't just want the title. We want to see other people serve. And if that means some of us as leaders taking a step back to let other people serve too and lead, and you know, that's our heart, is that we can see other people step into. So if you're interested in serving, we have so many areas, kids ministry, and we have like cameras and media and music, and there's so many. And we want to encourage you to join our team. So there's two ways that you can let us know you want to join our team. Number one, if you have a cell phone, you can go to victoryrock.org. And then right at the top, there's this link that says serving opportunities. You click that, you can just fill out that form, and we'll contact you this week or next week, and we'll just get to know you. I mean, you're not committing to anything. You're not saying, I'm committing to serving every week for a year. No, like, we're just saying, hey, like, we want to reach out to you and explain to you what it's going to look like. We want to reach out to you and say, hey, like, thanks for your interest in serving, and this is what we want it to look like. So if you're interested in serving, that's one way. If you prefer paper, out in the foyer, there's a table. It says come to the table on this board. Underneath it, there's some sheets there. You can just fill that out. And there's another thing, other opportunities. If there's something you're gifted in, maybe we're not even doing as a church yet, we would love to just create space for you to serve in whatever way is best for you. You know, Beth and I's heart in ministry is not to fill holes, but our heart is to give people roles. Not to just fill a hole like this is our biggest need. We want to see you thriving where you're serving. We want you serving in an area that's going to fulfill you, that's going to fill you up. We don't want you serving in areas that are just going to drain you, because we want to see you thriving. We want to see our serving teams thriving, because we can do more as a church together than we can alone. We can do so much more together. We can see more salvations working together. We can see more people getting baptized together. We can see more marriages getting healed and more children coming to know Jesus together. God is building his church here, and we get to help. We get to help build it. And so let's just pray together. And again, I just want to encourage you, if you're interested in serving in any capacity, let us know. And we want to reach out to you. And we're also, just real quick, we're introducing something called First Serve, which is an opportunity for you to step into a ministry and just try it out. So say you walk into kids ministry and you see what's going on, you have the opportunity to step right back out. Or you're serving in an area that's not great for you. We don't want you to just commit to something just because we need it. I want you to commit to something because that's what God is speaking to you. So say you sign up for something, you'll have an opportunity to serve one time. See how it feels. You can serve. You can try a few times, see how it feels, and then before we commit to it. So let's just pray. God, I thank you that you are moving. I thank you that we as a church are servers. And I thank you, God, that all of us, we realize and we step into our title knowing that that's a title for us to serve. And God, I just pray for all of us today. I pray that you bless us. And God, I thank you that you serve us. Even though sometimes we don't deserve it, even though sometimes we even betray you, God, I thank you that you serve us. And I pray that as a church, we will also do the same, God, that we will not just be observers of pain, we'll be servers in pain. In Jesus' name, amen.